Okay, it's 12 o'clock, and we are now calling the August 20th, 2019 Economic Development Authority meeting to order. Please roll.
Helms.
Here.
Blair.
Here.
Blair.
Here.
Pokrzywinski.
Here.
Grinde.
Here.
Hecht.
Here.
Johnson.
All right, quorum present. Item number 2, approval of minutes for July 23rd, regular meeting.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Grinde, second by Blair. Any discussion? Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Minutes are approved. Number 3, bills and communications. Review of accounts payable, August 6, 2019. We don't need to take action on that. Anybody have any questions
Not for me, sir.
about accounts payable for August 6th? Okay, moving on to item B, approval of accounts payable for August 20th, 2019. Need a motion for that.
I'll move.
Moved by Hecht,
Second.
second by Grinde. Discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in, no, we do gotta do roll call for that roll. Take roll for that.
Okay. Helms.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes,
Grinde.
Yes.
Hecht.
Yes.
thank you. All right, number 4, reports, delinquency updates.
There are no delinquencies.
Always good news, thank you. B, monthly financial reports.
They were
Do they have
distributed.
any questions on them? They were emailed to everybody. Just normal
Those negatives
monthly
look like
activity.
my checking account.
No questions.
Nothing out of the ordinary?
Nope.
No.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, director's report.
I attached the report, but let me highlight a couple things. And the first is the regional market capture study. Some of the subgroups are starting to meet and other meetings are scheduled. Daniel and I attended the geofencing. Daniel, do you want to talk about the geofencing meeting?
Geofencing meeting went well. Gave us a little bit more of an idea of what's going on. Essentially, of the geofencing and picking the areas, we'll have 71 different profiles that'll come out of those geofenced areas on what we're getting into town. We did talk, and including our hotels over here is going to be very important for us. And then we're also talking about geofencing areas in Fargo potentially, just to see, people that are leaving from this area and heading down to like the mall area down there. I know one thing I pushed for is I kind of wanted the downtown area, maybe during events, to be geofenced too in Fargo, because of interest to the board here is to get people to come to this area to want to be here. And one thing I know I've heard from people is there's more to do in Fargo. Well, what are they doing in Fargo that's attracting so many people? It'd be nice to kind of see some of that data and see what's going on. So it was really, the discussion was getting those geofences set up and then making our interest is known in that. So.
Targeting some of the dates when there are Canadian holidays as well.
Yeah, that was another one
Yeah.
too, was they were really looking at the Canadian holidays. I guess the Canadian portion is well covered with all of the members that we have. I'm a little more interested in what we're losing with people from Grand Forks here to Fargo as well, and that was something else that was discussed that we brought up. But yeah, I mean we've got the Canadian angle covered, and so I can tell you that.
Big funnel.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're also looking at our regional capture area as well. So that was the other part for this area here, looking at basically all of Polk County and maybe even, I think what it was, 15 minutes is what they had assumed back in the original study, but now we're talking more like 40-minute drive.
Yeah, last time it
here.
was 15 minutes from Washington and Demers, and this time they're looking at a different area, a different time.
Right.
And it's based upon travel time as opposed to actual distance.
Yep. And we're looking not just at the important part is they're really looking heavily at the Canadians, but we're also looking at people that are coming from the outside area as well. from Crookston, from out at the base, and, even people that are coming up maybe from Hillsborough, but we're looking at where people are coming from different areas as well, different market, what do they call them? Marketing areas or whatever.
Or trade areas.
Trade areas. So,
And it's important for us to figure out how many people from here are going to Fargo, for example, and also how many people from Canada are passing through here and going down to Fargo,
Right.
so that we can have some target audiences. And can we capture some of those people who are passing by, or can we keep some of the people who are going down to Fargo? Or could we even do some things here, and that's what part of the other working groups are about, could we even do some things here that would attract some people from Fargo up here? Because they're unique and they're not offered in Fargo as well.
Unique is the key word.
Oneers, yes, one of a kind. Something that can be attraction that makes it worthwhile to drive the hour up here or the hour and a half or so down from Winnipeg. Yes, absolutely. And that's what one of the committees, that's Diane's on that committee. And Barry is aware of your limits on time. Okay?
I got invited to 2 of the groups, so.
Yes, I saw.
So I'm going to have to see which ones I can
Yeah.
Squeeze in.
squeeze in, yeah.
So, and if you can't, let me know, and
Yep.
I'll pitch in for you. Unless I have a conflict, I will pitch in for you, okay? Or we'll figure out a way to cover it. But those are things that are going to be important for us, because if for those types of activities, our trade area will stretch from Winnipeg down to Fargo, and that is important because it makes us stronger. Being centrally located between those two, we have a lot of people to draw from, and it's a lot closer than going down to the Twin Cities. So let's take advantage of those opportunities.
Wouldn't go there anyway.
I tend to avoid the Twin Cities, and I end up in Winnipeg.
I don't go to Fargo either. Pass through and that's it.
It works, so.
All right, it's appreciate the time everyone's investing in this, Paul and Diane and Daniel. We've invested a significant amount of money in this, and I think I would like to make a comment. We've had a letter to the editor and a letter to Mr. Gordy of people that are concerned about the retail market and the loss of stores, and they're wondering what we're doing about it. And there's a limit to what we can do, but this is a step. This is a project or a tool that can help maybe attract new businesses. And I understand the anxiety and the question about what is EDA doing to fix this, and there's never a satisfying answer, but this is part of the answer, and so we can't just force someone to open a store, and just because we've lost some shopping opportunities.
Right.
But I have been talking to the landlords as well, and we do have some programs that we can work with entrepreneurs and business people who'd like to open up if they need to do some tenant improvements or things of that nature, or EDA also, by the policies set by the city, has some working capital available, can do working capital loans, and they can be done in conjunction with other programs, such as the Small Business Administration programs or private banking or lending institution programs. So there are things that we can do to help people to make it easier to succeed.
Yep.
But it really comes down to who wants to open a business, and the city itself doesn't open a business. It's private people who open the businesses.
Right.
And getting this information and seeing what demographics they have can really enlighten new people coming into how well their business can do, and really pick the right business for the area.
And Paul replied to this letter with some of the information that he just shared and more, and he forwarded it to me, and I replied to the lady that wrote to us and gave her my phone number and invited her to come to a EDA meeting, let her know that they were available on Facebook and on TV. So we're doing what we can, and we'll continue to do so.
Did she identify areas that she thought we were lacking in?
I think her concern was, like all of us, when Shopko closed or the dollar store closed, and we've got empty buildings, and I think part of it is the east side versus Grand Forks, and there's nothing, we need to give people a reason to shop over here instead of going somewhere else.
A
So.
framing shop, remember? That was the one business she mentioned.
Oh, no, I
Framing
don't.
shop.
Okay. Yeah. So, moving on.
Anyhow, there's opportunity here. That's the point. There's opportunity here, and the EDA is willing and able to help, and generally willing and able to help.
Okay. Realtor commissions, city-owned lots, update.
Mr. Pokrzywinski and myself and the mayor met and talked about the Realtor commissions. I've gotten back to the Realtors. We are setting up a follow-up meeting so that we can move forward on this. That meeting occurs end of September, so it probably won't even be until after our September meeting, if I remember correctly. But we are moving forward so that the Realtors can help us get things onto multiple listings and onto Zillow. Okay,
Right.
so that, like we talked about before, but we're moving toward that end. The problem is trying to make sure everybody's schedule fits so we can get the people who are participating.
Yeah, we had some scheduling conflicts with
Yeah.
all of the people involved, and so.
So we
that's why
are
it's-
going to list them with realtors?
That's to be determined. The instructions here were to go and talk to them and see, we have a proposal from them, and that's going ahead, and they have talked about how to do this. And we basically have talked to the Realtors who've been working with us on this issue for the last 3 years, who spent a lot of time and effort so far to get us to this point. So that's.
Yeah, there's kind of a back and forth going on between the Realtors and Paul and the mayor and I, and
So I'm trying to get everybody into the same room. We have a date set up to do that. Okay.
Yep.
So
Okay, Grow Minnesota status.
the Grove, Minnesota visitations have begun. We were able to visit Triangle Coach. Somebody might know that business in this room.
Never heard of it.
And very, very good visit is what I would say. This morning, and the reason I was running late coming back, so we had another meeting with another local business, Representative, Deb
Keel.
Representative Keel was there at that. We usually try to invite the representative and state senator to participate in at least one of the visitations so they can hear directly from the business. And it was quite an earful of a meeting, shall I say. Okay, so the report on that, we anticipate having the report on that at the September EDA meeting and at the September City Council meeting the same day. Okay, but they're
All right.
moving along, and we're trying to schedule about 20. It looks like we're going to end up about 15 or 16, because there are a couple businesses that have declined. And if anybody wants to participate, let me know, and I'll let you know this meeting schedule, because, it's always something that's helpful. If somebody from here also can attend. In addition to that, are you going to go to the one at American Crystal, Daniel?
I have
Are they
not
gonna
been
let you in?
invited as an employee, but I could probably go as an EDA board member.
Just crash it,
I
crash
don't
it.
know how that will go, but
Coming in through the back door.
And Kevin Hatcher from the Water and Light has been coming to some of these meetings with us as well, and we've talked about the visitations. Kevin is also doing some visitations, and he and I have talked about doing them together so that we have a combined Water and Light and economic development effort as we move forward and to find ways to integrate and collaborate on our activities with the different businesses in town. And that will strengthen, I think that will strengthen our approach tremendously.
What is Kevin's role at Water and Light?
He was Bonnie's position.
Okay.
It's the consumer representative, or I don't know the exact title.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can find it. Hold on,
Yeah,
I
the
think-
position was revised, but it's a customer energy
Yep.
service.
No, I don't need to know any more than that.
I have his business
Thank you.
card with me. I can tell you. Kevin's title is Energy and Customer Service Specialist,
Okay. All right.
because I've had his cards for when we go out to the meetings.
Okay. Anything else from the director's report?
No, if you have any questions on what was attached, please feel free to ask now or contact me, okay?
Okay, item number 5, unfinished business. A, Mayo Delisle Properties update.
Because we're getting late into the construction season, Delisle Properties is looking to move forward so they would like to be able to use the building this fall. The paperwork has been submitted to Deed for their portion, for their part of the loan, but they were also asking for city monies to borrow from the city revolving loan fund. The loan committee met and recommended approval of that. Delisle Properties is because they owns the building and owns the property. Mayo is actually a tenant for them, so the loan would be to Delisle, and Mayo would be the beneficiary of that loan because they would ultimately be able to move into the expanded building to be able to do their operations in that building. You have a bunch of paperwork attached here. Some of it will require Mike's signature and my signature. Some of it's going to require the signatures of the mayor and the city administrator as well. In addition, you'll see on tonight's agenda at the council some things that the council has to do with relationship to this loan. I've been working with our council in the Twin Cities, Kennedy and Graven, on some of the best practices, and best practices, because we're an economic development authority, would have us have the council involved for some of these loans as well as the EDA involvement. So that's why you're seeing it, it's on the council agenda too. And for anybody who may have looked at the council agenda, that's why it's there. Like I said, the loan committee has recommended approval. The attorney, Ron, has put in great diligence in putting all these paperwork together. His fingers used to be a half an inch longer, but I worked him to the bone to get this done, and he performed spectacularly last week to get this put together in time. And like I said, the recommendation of the loan committee is to approve, and my recommendation is to approve.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Blair, second from Hecht. Any discussion, questions? Mr. Helms?
Are we still in the waiting game with the state on this?
What will happen is that Mr. Delisle will make the decision whether to wait for the state to take action, or he may proceed and look for other funding source for that $150,000 that he's asked for in state funds.
And then when you had your chance today, did you talk to Deb about it?
Yes, she's aware of it, and I had a chance last week, which will be on next month's report, to talk with people from Deed directly about that too. Okay? And foreshadowing next month's report, I had the opportunity to talk with the new commissioner for Deed, one-on-one when I was down there, so that it's creating a relationship. And I have invited him to come and join us at one of our meetings. He says he wants to travel. We're looking at either the November or December meeting, if possible, to have him come up and visit with us and meet all of you, and then to tour the community as well.
How long, because Deed has the paperwork now, how long do they require to go through it all and approve it for them?
Till they get done.
Until they get
There
done.
is no deadline for their action.
Not fast enough.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's a very frustrating thing because businesses need to move quickly.
They're pretty
Well, but
busy.
in all due respect to Deed, it took a considerable amount of time to put the application together.
Because it's huge.
To get the information to them, for them to be able to make
About
it.
3 months to get the application to Deed. They've had it 3 weeks, and we're waiting for them to respond. And we've been in touch with Deed after the application to see where it's at in the process. Thank you. Roll call.
Any other questions? Call roll, please.
Helms,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Hecht.
Yes.
It's approved. Thank you. When do you need those signatures? After the meeting today?
That would be the best time, yes, if you can get them
Yep.
done.
I can.
Because Brenda's here, she's the notary that she can notarize our signatures.
All right. Under new business, a Torkelson request. You want to explain this, Paul?
Jim Torkelson bought a lot, I believe it was in 2012, and was given permission not to build for a couple of years, and he has been doing a lot of the construction himself because of his past expertise and skill in construction. He completed the house in December, but the certificate of occupancy was not issued until February of 2020. 2019, getting ahead of myself. And the program ended in December of 2018. What we do not know is that, what I can't tell you is if he had known about, if he had specific knowledge. I don't know whether he had specific knowledge of the deadline or whether he could have asked for the funds and the certificate of occupancy before December 31st of 2018. I don't know those answers, don't have those answers, and I don't think it's possible to get those answers because we're doing conjecture for things that happened in the past. We had a similar situation involving some people who bought some lots, a firm that bought some lots in 2006. At that time, we said the program would apply to them because of their particular circumstances in building it. I went back and did I attach the minutes from that? I don't recall. But it's specifically, I went back to the minutes for that meeting.
They're online.
Yeah, okay. So based upon the action in that case, we've recommended approval of this, recognizing that there are particular circumstances on here. We don't often see 7 years between the purchase of a lot until the certificate of occupancy. We don't often see 5 years for the construction of the home.
But
So-
if he finished it in December of 18, didn't get the certificate until February, that tells me that he had a problem that they wouldn't let him in.
The information on the letter, he, there was a problem in scheduling.
I
And
guess,
that, yeah, I can't answer that because I don't know the answer on that, Josh, beyond that.
I guess more of a question for me is if it was February that he got the certificate of occupancy and it's August now, why the long wait? On
That's not
coming to
unusual
us?
for someone to come back because they have to get all their paperwork from closing and everything to bring in for the program. And he's been gathering some other paperwork for some of the other programs.
But you get that the
like the
day of.
landscaping.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
You get that paperwork the day of closing.
I understand that, but not everybody gets in here immediately. It's not unusual to see them come in months afterwards. It wasn't unusual to see them come in months afterwards.
So I guess, do we have any idea how many more of these types of things are going to be coming back from this is my other question.
Do I think there are very many? No, I think it's very, very few, if any, Daniel.
Okay.
This was an unusual one. Most of the homes, as far as I can tell from the file, were built within the time frame, or they are aware, because we have turned down people afterwards who didn't meet it.
Right.
Okay, we have, and they weren't always very happy about it, okay? But we have turned people down, but they had different circumstances where the lot was closed on after the closing date that was required, where the home was closed on, and the certificate of occupancy was issued, what may have been issued before the end of 2018, but they purchased the lot too late. So they've all been turned down.
But that's fine. I just wanted to check because, I know part of this too was just to remove the financial burden from that account as
There
well.
was no money in there.
Right, and
Yeah.
so
Well,
how many
whatever
more
it is.
times are we going to do this? And is it one of those things where we're going to have to say, well, there's no money left in the account. Sorry, there's not a lot we can do for you.
And that is the issue right now.
I mean,
It's
that's one of the
22,000
issues
in the
here.
hole.
Right, that's what I'm asking I know we did this, a similar situation, but is there a point where we don't want to go any further in the hole in the account?
Right, and wasn't it, how was it worded again? I didn't look it up. About quitting it, wasn't it December 31st?
December 31st of 2018. You had to have your certificate of occupancy by December 31st of 2018. But the reason I brought it to you the other way is because of what was allowed for Sanderson, for his lots. And like I said, I went back to the minutes to look to see what we had done in that situation.
I think there was another issue with this property too, wasn't there, with the city or something?
These
He
had,
didn't pay taxes on it.
Yeah, it was,
He
yeah,
didn't, he wasn't aware
taxes
that
or
it
the
was in,
special
he
assessments
wasn't
or
aware
something.
that was in his name.
there have been several interesting issues involving that home.
I don't think we should.
Just make, whatever you guys do, you do. I will just carry the message to Mr. Torkelson.
But I guess the argument to approve it is we made an exception with, but on the flip side, we've also turned quite a few down that,
One or two.
okay, one or two, okay. So,
So we've turned ones down that bought the lot after, but still got their certificate of occupancy before.
Yes.
So
They
this
bought
is
the home
same
after
situation,
December
just
7th.
reversed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do we know that the home was completed in December?
Only from his
Word,
words.
I
exactly.
know, is that the similar situation from,
Sanderson hasn't built some of the homes.
right?
But we haven't given them the 3,000? Okay.
No.
And and I guess in a way, that situation was
five.
a little bit different because it was a preemptive, this is an after the fact, this is an example of asking for forgiveness and doing it anyway, whereas he asked in advance prior to.
I went back and forth on the recommendation, and only because of Sanderson did I recommend approval of it, because it's how long he'd owned the lot.
Well, I
But-
mean, not to say that he was upfront with us.
Yeah.
I mean, he brought it to our attention before it was going to be an
Sanderson
issue.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is an after-the-fact situation. It's missing by 2 months. It was in February, and all we have is his word that it was completed in December.
You could ask the building tech person who does the building permit.
Mm-hmm. If you want more information, we can get that.
I don't know. I'm inclined to say no, just based on that, but maybe more information would help us make a decision.
I'm curious too, though, if the recommendation is to approve it, but even if we did approve it, where does the money come from?
Right.
What account?
It
Even,
would go farther in the hole.
yeah, it goes further in the hole like it always has, and the council has to backfill that. And that's the way it was for the entire program and for years, for all of the $5,000 loans that have been made, is that there was technically no money in the account, and the councils had to backfill them. Whether it was homes that were completed in 2018, 2017, 2016, or whatever. That part is no different than previous, Justin.
So there's
we
not,
were trying
but
to
there's no
stop the
money that
bleeding.
transfers to this account. So
Sure.
it just stays in the hole until we sell enough lots or people don't live there for 10 years. That's the only way this fund gets rebuilt, are those two issues.
Well, we do get the revenues from the Valley Golf.
Well, and Valley Golf, yeah, sorry.
But there's really very few dedicated resources, funding resources that go into this account. And every time we make expenditures, whether it be for landscaping or for this or for whatever, it taxes this account and makes it very difficult.
Do you have a copy of the policy that you've put forward? And
Not with me.
I'm just saying, I think you should follow your policy.
And it's
Policy
an
is December 31st,
an easy call.
2018.
Should we defer this until our next meeting, get a copy of the policy? I'd be interested.
No, it states in there that
Yeah.
December 31st.
Okay.
Done.
I don't know if everybody
December
can
30
read it or not. I remember what it is, but I
Yeah.
wanted to give people an
Unless somebody
opportunity.
wanted more information from permit office.
December 31st, 17 for lot purchase, and December 31st, 18 for certificate of occupancy.
Does specifically say certificate of occupancy.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd entertain a motion.
Now, it's not like you say, we're not like talking a month here, we're talking
8.
months,
I would put forth a no for me, no on this.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion. A motion
I will
to
second
deny.
that motion.
Motion to deny by Black, second by Grinde. Any further discussion? Call roll.
Helms,
Yes,
Black,
or no, I said, what would it be?
No, it's a
I
yes.
guess.
It's yes.
Yes to approve the
against
no,
it.
yes.
That's confusing. You're right.
Yes to agree with the motion.
Yeah, yes to agree with the motion. That's what I want.
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Hexton,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Hecht,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yeah, I will inform Mr. Torkelson.
Okay, he's more than welcome to appeal it if he wants to come to our next meeting. We meet in the open. Okay,
And on Facebook.
yes.
And I think this also gives Paul the
Back.
the backing that if someone comes in this similar situation, he can say,
Yeah.
I can take it to the board, but I can tell you from their past actions, this is how they would handle it.
And that is greatly appreciated.
Yes, and, you know, and it's not something that we wouldn't re-entertain to open that back up later in life if we started selling lots, like you said, but I got a real hard time even asking council for money for something that we set in stone.
And as we go into the budget discussion.
Yes.
Which is the next item on the agenda?
Talk about a segue, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are good.
Okay. Paul, would you like to present to your board with your proposed budget for 2020? It's in your packet.
I'm trying to find the page.
When I first read this, I looked at increase and I read from $300 to $3,300. I'm going, whoa, these are some big, oh wait, oh no,
No.
that is of.
It's of, okay?
Yeah, but when I first read it,
It's almost like a lawyer wrote this.
yes, it is, isn't it, kind of?
I'll take that as a compliment with Ron being the attorney to emulate,
Good job, Ron.
okay? You can see there are basically small increases for a couple of things. General supplies, because we need to reflect what we're actually spending. It's $300 increase. Professional services, because we need to make sure we have the second year of the regional market capture study accommodated. This will provide money for that. Communications increase of $1,500 to $2,700, because that reflects what the actual expenditures are. Repairs and maintenance, I looked at that, said 1524 looks like a screwy number, so I decreased it, $24. And dues and subscriptions, I included two things that we have not included in the past. The half of the city's membership, our sponsorship, membership in the Greater Grand Forks Young Professionals. That will be $500 out of our budget, and $500 comes from the administration budget. And I also included the request for $10,000 from SBDC. They were here earlier this year and talked with you about that and submitted a request in that amount. So I included that money in the budget. But that is the 620 account, or our general operating funds. Do you want to talk about that first and then go into 280, or do you want me to just continue on into the 280 account?
We can talk about a 620 account first if we want to, and then we can do 280 so we don't get them confused. I was just curious on the professional services too. You said it included the consulting with AE2S, and that was for all the Facebook stuff and everything
Yes.
that we were doing, right? And
Yes.
that was on a quarterly basis that we were doing that, or? is
No,
that
we're doing, you asked me to do it monthly.
Monthly, okay.
So
I just
I'm
want to
doing
make
it
sure I
monthly,
remember correctly.
and I have my appointment set up, usually it's like the last Thursday of the month,
Okay.
and I go out and meet with Taylor, and she's available for consultation as needed on that. But it's
Are we
been-
seeing an increase in our Facebook usage, that people are looking at our pages more, or what are we?
Thanks to Brenda, we are posting a lot of things, and it has, yes, it does seem that there have been some very popular posts, and then there are others that people kind of, but it does seem to be having some impact.
Okay.
Okay? So there's a benefit. And it's a really small amount of money, but we just need to make sure we have the money for these two activities in there. We will be getting a picture from today's session, the session I was telling you about earlier, with Representative Keel, that's going to be posted. As soon as I get that, I can give that to Brenda so she can post it as well.
So with that, I guess my question would be, since we are increasing that for those services, is there going to be a point where we're going to kind of have a report on how things are looking in terms of, are we seeing those increases? Something that kind of has some data on there that we can say, yeah, this is worth it. And maybe we need to say, hey, maybe we need to put more money into this in the future to say, this is something really worth doing. We need to focus in on this area. Or, we have enough. It's something to give us an analysis to where, do we need to add more? Do we need to do less? Because we want it to be effective at the end of the day.
Let
Yep.
me talk to Taylor so she can print out how the changes have gone,
Okay.
okay?
Because
And
it
she-
would be nice to know actually, I mean, because I see them, but it's like, you kind of forget when when was the last time you saw one. And so, how many are we actually doing? And how are they being responded? How many shares are we seeing? How many, I think that would be
I'll
really
talk-
helpful.
Right.
I'll talk to Taylor so she can just print it out, because she can get a printout, so, I mean, it's quick.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to see some statistics on that so that we
I'll see if I
can
can-
make good decisions on what we want to do in the next few budgets.
How is it
Money after
dovetailed
bad,
into
right?
your
Right.
city?
That is one of the activities that was recommended in the marketing and communication study.
I'm curious because I still can't find you guys half the time on the city website, so I'm just
Well-
curious on how it all dovetails.
The city website is supposed to be being revised. It will make things a lot easier
Oh, so it
to
hasn't been
find.
yet? I never
And
look at the city website.
there are things that I have prepared that will go onto the new website when people can find them. But that's
The only reason
supposed to
I
be
say,
happening soon.
the only reason I say this is typically if somebody's going to look for the EDA, they're going to go to the city website. They're not going to look generally for an independent EDA website over here on the side somewhere, and I'm not,
No, I would disagree with you on that. Since so many EDAs are private, not-for-profit corporations, when you go searching, most times it seems that people look for whether it's East Grand Forks Economic Development or Grand Forks Economic Development, they will do that search, and that may come up as our page on the web, on the city's website, but they will be searching for economic development in this area generally, as opposed to going through the city's website to look for it.
Okay, let's reel this back in and start focusing on the budget.
The communications account that we're asking for the increase now, what all consists of that portion of that? Is it just the regular phone lines in the office or?
There was
Phone
a-
line postage.
Yeah, there was,
And that,
a-
he had put it different, I said, we spent more than that, what we have to pay back to, for postage and for phones, that it wasn't covering it, so that's why, I did say, we have to raise it to that, because
yeah, and there
that's
was
what
some
we're
change-
actually spending, that's what we actually spent last year, if you look on the line.
Yeah,
So by raising it to that, that'll also square us with what we owe then too.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So it's just, I'll go through and make sure that, what was actually spent the year before and kind of look to see, no, that's still going to be spent even if somebody in a department puts in lower. If it's not going to be real, then I change it.
Yeah. I looked back at more years and looked at last year's possibly being high, and Carla suggested we do it the other way instead. Well, that's fine. Just because it's in there as a budgeted amount doesn't mean it all has to be spent, too.
Well, and that's an account that automatically basically gets spent because, you get charged for the phone line no matter if you're using the phone or not.
Yeah.
Postage, of course, is by usage, but
We did not approve the funding for the SBDC yet, correct?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
That's in the budget request, and you can decide whether you think $10,000 or zero or any amount between. You can select the amount if you decide that you want to do some funding. I know that she's assisting several businesses, and she's just gotten 2 new East Grand Forks clients.
So the $10,000 isn't a,
It's not a set amount. They are asking for contributions to
Okay.
fund the operations of the SBDC.
And where is she located again? She's in,
University of Minnesota Crookston. And Crookston's been doing, if I remember correctly from when she was here, didn't she say that Crookston was doing 10,000 as well?
yeah,
Yeah,
it seems to me that's where it came from.
yeah. I think that's where the amount came from.
I guess it'd be my thinking, if we think that's a valuable investment, that we should at least match what Crookston is doing, or like-sized communities.
Well, I don't want Crookston to put in 28,000, think that we have to go to 28.
Well,
I think
no.
that 10,000 is value for us.
Yeah,
I think if we would see that we're getting more and more services from her, we may want to
Yes.
look at more.
So do we need to make a motion on each individual account or do it just as the whole budget?
Just the general budget. I would suggest the general budget.
I don't have any more questions than on the 620. That's good for me.
Okay.
I don't know about anybody else.
Anybody else have any questions or discussion about the proposed budget? Now, we need a motion to approve.
Do we approve the 620 or do we do the 280 first?
620 separately, do 620 first.
Okay.
And then we'll do 280.
Okay, motion to approve the 620 budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the 620 as proposed here.
Motion by Black,
Second?
second by Blair. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Helms,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Hecht.
Yes.
Approved unanimously. So we need a separate motion for the 280 account?
Yes.
Okay?
280 account, there were 3 changes from previous amounts. Decrease in general supplies by $600 to a total of $1,200. Decrease of $3,000 for legal services to $12,000, because that's a better reflection of actual expenses. And as we do that, we'll sell hundreds of lots this year, and Ron will bill us for lots of stuff. And increase of $600 to $1,800 to reflect anticipated expenditures for professional services, and that includes things like appraisals and things like that. Okay, so actually, it's a net decrease of $3,000 in 280.
Okay. Need a motion to approve. Motion by Hecht, second by Black. Any questions, further discussion? The 280 account. Hearing none, call roll, please.
Helms,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes, yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Hecht.
Yes.
And the motion's approved. There, I lost my way.
Yeah, it's easy to do it on this agenda today.
Capital budget.
Carla puts together the capital budget each year. And you can see that the only item that we have that's listed is the new industrial park, and we deferred that. It was originally set for the 2020 budget, but we deferred it. But as I was thinking about the capital budget, there are a series of different projects that we need to be thinking about long-term, because if we're trying to enhance economic development, these things are things that are going to be necessary. Some of these would appear in the normal, the rest of the capital budget, so we'd be reinforcing some of those things. Some of them are items that are unique to us, such as the industrial park. What I would ask is that you decide whether these projects should be included ultimately in the capital plan, and what is the priority? When do you see, so there's a little more discussion, when would you attach a year to each of these projects? And it's on the back, Carla, it's on the back of this sheet.
Here?
Yes, on the back of it,
Oh, yeah. That's what I
the
was
memo.
looking at. Yeah,
Okay?
that's what I was looking at.
Yes. First is the land for the industrial park and site development of that. We have to identify a site, and we would do that at a later date. That's not something to do now, but it was included in the 2020 CIP, requested that it be deferred for at least 1 year. Carla, I thought it appeared in like 2023 when you did the revised CIP?
Yeah, I don't know. You have for 2019, the one that was sent to the council has pushbacks.
Yeah, I thought it was 2023.
So I don't know where this print-off came from, sorry.
That's the original one you gave me, that we worked
This is
from.
dated
So-
July 10th, though. I did one
Does
Friday.
it show up?
So you haven't gotten the one from me for Friday? Didn't know.
I saw it after, we had done this agenda, because I was gone last week, we did this agenda before you got that to us.
Oh,
had to
and
use the
yeah, and I
agency.
never sent any of this to you. I didn't know you needed it, sorry.
That's fine. I'm using this for illustrative, that's
Yep,
all.
no, that's
We just
fine.
wanted to make sure that the EDA saw the way projects are presented. The second is the industrial park.
So that's been pushed back to 2023?
It's penciled in at 2023, but we need to decide when we think that we should be looking at it. Is it a priority, and when should we put this in relationship to the other capital projects, and when do we think we should start be looking for funding for it? Okay? Second issue is improvement of certain roads in the industrial park. Some of them are in difficult condition, and it's been a discussion for some years now as to what has to be done to improve those roads and where the funding source would be. But that is a capital project. That's an economic development capital project for retention of existing business and for expansion, if there's any adjacent lots, expansion of new businesses in that area.
Do we have a lot of complaints on those, the way the roads are now?
Do I get a lot of complaints? No. Do other people get a lot of complaints? I don't know.
We got quite a few complaints at the corner where you turn in where the Douglas place is and where you were to turn left to head down to where.
That's been horrible forever.
Yeah.
Or the
There
round
was an overlay done on that, so it really helped. That's probably been 3 years now.
2 or 3 years, yes.
Yeah, and I checked it a year ago, and it still looked pretty good, so that's where most of the complaints came from. I think the other road that's in terrible condition is if you instead of turning left there, you head south towards the lagoon, that road is really bad.
I think it's 11th.
There's a field on one side, and then there's the Douglas place on the other.
And then there's the road on the far end of the
10th
industrial
Street.
park
Yep.
by American Crystal.
10th Street.
My opinion on where we should be on those roads is, I don't think we can, there's no money for it. The city council is preparing to have a discussion and making a new policy about funding for rebuilding existing roads. There's the issue of, what's the term, Ron?
Special assessment
Special assessment, the special
percentage.
benefit test.
Yes.
That people can contest the assessment based on whether it improves their property value, and the city's kind of left holding the bag if they can't prove that. So it's a problem without a real easy solution, and in my opinion, it may not have a solution. So that's why those roads are crumbling, continue to crumble. There's just no money to pay for them.
But identifying it as a potential capital project
Yep.
is one thing. That puts us into the question of where to find
Sure.
resources to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Are the businesses like in the industrial park, do they pay a special assessment for the roads or anything, or is that strictly the city's liability?
You have to have the same special assessment policy for the continuous city, the
Yeah.
whole city. So they would fall under the same policy as anybody else in the city. I just wanted to mention, though, in the past, we did receive some federal dollars to do one of the streets out there.
The one road was used, EDA dollars was used, and the one report that I referred to in my report is a triennial report on what has happened along that. And you had to do the 3, 6, and 9 years after that road was installed. And when I sent in the report to the United States Economic Development Administration, they were pleased about how much has happened on the road, how much activities happened on the road. So they funded that, but we had to do a report. And we can always look for funding like that in the future for roads as well. I mean, there are sources to look at, but we have to decide if this is a capital project that we think we need to look for money for. So the first test here is are these things that we're listing and talking about capital projects for which we should seek funding, and then if we should seek funding, where can we look for funding for them? Okay? But we have to determine first, are they capital projects that we should say we need to be looking at these in the future? And the capital list is kind of, I hate to say it, but it's more like a wish list, what you really need to do. But it also means it gives us a target for looking for monies, so the city can get the most bang for the buck when it ultimately spends anything.
Yeah, I guess my opinion is that having good roads to serve our industrial park is a good thing, and it should be identified as a capital project that should be something that we should look to do.
The third is to create an industrial incubator space for small and/or entrepreneurial businesses. This would create the opportunity to grow more businesses. We see places that are looking for small spaces, looking for spaces in order to develop. We have, with the Center for Innovation over at the University of North Dakota, the more opportunities we have for the entrepreneurs to have a space to grow their businesses, the better off we are. We don't have a lot of space available right now, so this is a way to address that. I have some designs from other communities that I've seen in the past where there would be a shared truck court. You know how you go down a street, you have houses on both sides? Well, this would be two buildings that are perpendicular to the street. It would have a shared truck area, which you are serving possibly 8 or 10 spaces, 6, 8, 10 spaces from a shared truck area, truck maneuvering space. That gets us into the development business, and I'd rather do that as a joint venture. And I'm not sure that we want to include that as a full-fledged capital project for the EDA, but it may be something that we want to do, or you want me to do, where I start to talk to some people to get some private investment to do that. Okay?
Yeah, that would be,
I'm inclined to joint venture or private investment.
yeah, because it's kind of speculating.
Similar to what Grand Forks has got right now.
Yeah. And we don't have that much money that we can afford to do something that's not going to return. Downtown parking lots at some point are going to have to be redone. And that helps our commercial areas. So that's economic development. And Dale, you know how it's going to come up with the council about how you want to pay for it, parking area, parking district, or whatever. We have to start facing the issue of what's going to go on in the future there. It's a capital project, but we don't know the revenue source. And the last one is one that's come up from time to time, and that's the corner of 4th and Demers. That area, it's used for parking right now for the businesses, and the question is, the discussion to council has always been, do we want to continue to use it for parking, or do we want to use it for a possible development parcel? If it's going to be used as a development parcel at some point in the future, we may have to figure out how to replace the parking that's at that. And that may be Grand Forks. They talk about Grand Forks. Grand Forks has parking structures. They're expensive. The cost of a parking space in a truck in a parking structure is about 10 times the cost of a space, surface space. So it will be a very expensive project. Is that something we want to think about to create a development opportunity, but to create additional parking someplace that may have to go vertical instead of horizontal because we don't have the land to spread it out on?
What I know about that corner is there's fierce opposition from the neighbors to allow another building to be put anywhere near there. And, pardon me?
Where are they going to park anybody?
Is that then?
Daniel's parking there at that corner.
Okay. Just
Yep.
want to make sure.
VFW and up north don't want anything there. They want that to be their parking lot, even though they don't own it. It's been somewhat of a divisive issue with the council, and so I don't know if
Mike, if I may.
should go ahead.
From our perspective, it's going to be, we want to provide a parking deck to create a development opportunity, not something else. But do we want to address the parking issue in that area of downtown by having a parking deck, which is a solution that Grand Forks has used?
Yeah, simple answer for me is no.
Okay. I mean,
And
that's it.
And it's the point you made is they're extremely expensive, and it's like a bridge to nowhere. I don't think it's needed. We've got plenty of parking downtown. It's just
Gotta walk away.
how far do you want to walk?
For a few events now in the last couple of years as well.
Yeah.
For setup areas, which
attracts people to the downtown area.
Right.
If you put a parking garage in there, it's hard to have an event if you
Yep.
got a parking garage on it.
Well, the
Yeah,
parking,
do it up on
the
top.
discussion in downtown on that corner has never dealt with the cost of replacement parking. And this deals with the issue of replacement parking.
Yeah, but
I
And
think
it's
we do need
expensive.
to look at our parking issues downtown. I agree with Mike that you'd have to sell me really hard on spending that kind of money for downtown East Grand Forks when you consider what it costs to make a parking ramp. And it's to put parking right on your one of our main drags. That's one of our best corners. That just seems kind of not smart usage, but I understand the issues so we have to address, if we take that parking away, whether it's technically parking or not, it's what it's used for, how are we going to replace that?
About 35 spaces or so that we have to deal with.
Because the one thing that our downtown has become is businesses that require a lot of parking.
We have a modern downtown. We have a downtown that's the envy of a lot of communities because it's entertainment-based, it's experiential-based, and that's where retail is moving to. And, we talked about that at the market. That's a huge thing, but we have it. We're fortunate. We are blessed with that right now. And we need to make sure that we recognize that. And there are some costs, like the development of that corner, but what do we do to replace it because of the clientele that we're trying to serve?
there are some musical chair solutions to replacing that parking if a building were to go there. And you can't talk about it because people own that property and they would have to be bought out, but there are unused spaces very nearby that, that could very easily replace what would be lost. So, and what it takes is an entrepreneur or a developer that comes in with a plan and says, here's what I want to do. And we need to be a partner for that sort of thing, so.
I think personally, for all the capital expenditures that were improvement plan possibilities we're looking at, I think parking is the furthest one from my list. I think parking is a perceived problem in our downtown, not a real issue. There's so much parking down there that just because you're not parking right at the front door of a business doesn't mean that there's not parking available. I mean, you're talking, multiple parking spots within a block of anywhere you want to be downtown. So that would be the furthest thing from my radar of something that we need to focus on.
Come pick me up when I'm down there, then a block away.
That's going to be your autonomous car.
You know,
Retrieve
I
me.
have a property nearby where we're talking about, and I can tell you that there are open parking lots a block away after the evening staff shows up to work. Now, if there's an open parking lot a block away, where are those employees parking? They're parking right by the door,
Yep.
Right.
and they could.
On this here, I kind of wrote down I put them in order for myself, but the two that make the most sense to me is just my thought is the repair of parking lots and the improvement of existing roads. Because I think that sets the right precedent for if a business does want to come in and they see what they're dealing with and they see that the roads are crap or the parking has holes in it that haven't been repaired. It sends a wrong message for anybody new coming in. It also inconveniences our current businesses with how it stands. And I think current infrastructure, as long as we can, if we show that this is a nice place to want to do business in, it'll benefit us in the long run. And I mean, the idea for the industrial park, I put that one last right now. I don't think we have any new businesses that are looking to come in. And so to me, it can go to the back burner for a little while with maybe some more things that are a little bit more of a precedence. And we can always move those things up in the future if something was to happen.
So is the top priority the roads in the industrial park right now? Does everybody agree on that?
I think that's a high priority. I
And the
would
parking
tend to
lots,
disagree a little bit with the industrial park though, because my perception on that is that we need that space available if somebody does come to us. And if we don't have a plan and have the space available, we can't negotiate or leverage anything. I find that us needing more industrial park space, because we have none left, is a high priority.
So is the land for the industrial park, is the goal behind that basically to give a scope of the project? Like to actually just find a place where we can do it at? Or is it to fully develop a industrial park with that? Like what, I guess with the capital projects, I'm always looking at what the scope of the project is to figure out, is this gonna be a 1-phase, 2-phase, 3-phase kind of thing? Or is this something can all be done in 1 year?
Depends on the parcel.
Okay.
Okay, I have seen plans for a couple of different locations in this area. One of them is a multi-phase project, the other is a single-phase project. So it depends on the parcel on that. The costs are parcel dependent. I envision having, shovel-ready is one of the important things, and I envision having to have something that it, where at least you have roads and sewer and water in, and you probably will have to have access to natural gas, probably have to have access to electricity as well. So you're going to have something that's ready that people can develop their own sites.
Well, I think it kind of falls back onto the comment that Diane made earlier, talking about deed, is that businesses need to move fast and now
Yeah.
sometimes, and if we don't even have a parcel purchased where somebody can come in and we can leverage a small manufacturing business or somebody to come to town, if they're looking to do something, they're looking to, hey, probably within a 12-month time frame of having something built and operating, where it could take us 12 months to negotiate a land purchase to even try to get them in.
Well, when I've talked to Keith Mickleseth, it sometimes will take 6 to 9 months to order pieces of equipment, remember? That being the case, we need to be thinking ahead far enough to have those, some of the big
And that's
pieces of
where I
equipment
just
they
say
need. Yeah.
that's kind of why it's a higher priority for me, is what I think, is because I think we need to have space available in case somebody, if something came up tomorrow, what would we do?
And we've been in this situation for a while.
Yes, it's not
So
new.
it's not a new problem. I mean, how many times can we push it to the back burner?
Right.
Are we losing things because people look at our someone's out there looking and they look at the industrial park and they go, there's nothing there. They just wipe East Grand Forks off they don't even call Paul and talk to him because they've looked and our industrial park is full. So we don't know if we're missing opportunities.
And we probably won't know because they do web searches first.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have something available on the web for them to see, we'll likely never hear from them.
Right.
But you look at Grand Forks and look at their industrial park and how much they have and how much has been going on out there. It's growing immensely. And then they've got access to interstate right there, where if we don't have something in order to have leverage to bring somebody in that says, hey, we can do this with our land or whatever, why would they not look across the river right there where it's available and right next to interstate corridor?
So can I propose something? Let's go down this list, and each of you, each of you individually needs to rate these 1 through 5, or no, if you think road projects should not be done, with a no, and then we can just tally the votes and put them in order that way. So for the industrial park, we'll start with a different person for each one. So Justin, on the industrial park,
Oh, I put that as my number one priority.
Josh?
There's 3 of them that are tied for 1.
You sound,
Like my wife?
no, you sound like a state government department that can't figure out what's the highest priority, so they're going to try to do everything.
Well,
Okay. Choose one. And where would you rank this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No wrong answer.
One, I would be going with the parking lots, 2, the streets, 3, the industrial park.
So this is
Because
3.
we're not taking care of what we got right now is the problem.
Okay. We'll come back to the others. I'm just doing this
Okay.
one right now.
2.
2.
Swayed me. 3.
Well, it's all up to you, Dale.
Waiting on me?
Yes.
Probably 2.
Okay. The next one is improving or repairing the industrial roads in the existing industrial park. Your turn, Dale.
It'd be a 1 for me. I've been on those roads.
2?
So 1 for me, because if we lose one of those, to replace that is very, very difficult. We need to make sure that those guys, and the trucks that they're pulling out there, they're hard on roads. That's just the way it is.
Mike?
1. Those roads are lost.
Josh?
They need to be
Oh,
completely
they're awful.
rebuilt.
They've been awful
Roads,
forever.
1.
Justin?
2.
Create an industrial incubator space, is that a no? Work with somebody to do it privately? So I wrote,
Yep.
okay. Repair of downtown parking lots. Mike, you go first this time, you're in the middle.
3.
Diane?
3.
Josh?
2.5.
There you,
2.
yeah, you had a 3 for that one, you can't have 2
3, yes.
3s, see, okay?
Yeah.
Daniel?
1.
Justin?
3.
Dale?
I'm putting that as number 5, and for this reason. I'm hoping that at one point in time that we get to that. I brought it up last time I was on the council that we need to be assessing these businesses downtown to help pay for this thing. So hopefully we can come up with some kind of assessment to help repair those parking lots. We furnish them guys, those people downtown, with pretty nice parking.
Snow removal.
And we clean the snow, we do everything, and they don't pay a dime. So,
I think you're right. That has to be part of this repairing the downtown. I mean,
Yep.
we have an issue. They need to be fixed. They need to be maintained.
yep.
And I think that ties all together, that we need to move forward with that and come up with those plans. How do we assess those people?
Yep, because I don't have anybody come and clean my parking lot. I'm sure, Mike, nobody cleans yours for you, do they? You know?
No.
I mean, it's been an issue for a long time. It's kind of been a thorn in a lot of people's side that have owned businesses in East Grand Forks.
Replacement parking for any development at 4th and Demers. I gather that's like a 4? We're down to 4 because we said 1 was.
I know my number you got left.
Because that's still below where,
Yeah.
Okay.
we can put another
I
one
gather
in
it's the
for
last
me.
priority for
Pick
everybody,
anything.
6.
except Dale, because Dale already used up his last.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's got to put it as a 3.
No,
Thank you.
Do you need a motion to approve this? Or?
I get the sense of it. I don't think I need a motion. I will just present it. I will reduce this, Carla, to something that these are the projects prioritized.
Okay.
So we need to figure out
Thanks,
what
Carla.
to do. Okay?
That was the last.
This will
item.
give Carla some information, and it dovetails to some of the things that Public Works is working on, for example, on the industrial streets and how to pay
Need
for
a
them.
motion.
Anything else before we adjourn? Anybody? Need a motion to adjourn? Motion by Black,
Second.
second by Blair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Ron, you're opposed?
He doesn't get a vote.
Yes.
Well, he might be. I mean, he's billing us,
We've got to
right?
go back to his office, right?